faithful to his wife was because he's just programmed to sleep around with lots of women.
That's true. No, you're right. You'd be taking away maybe some of the empathy. But on the other hand, there's a lot of research that shows that juries very sensitive to experts and science in quotation marks, whether or not it's real. That's almost, I think, like the number one thing, even more than eyewitness testimony, that they find swaying. That's just what the empirical data has shown. So it's kind of dangerous to allow evolutionary arguments if an expert will come in and justify an action because it was the selfish gene, if you will, forcing it to occur. So, I really feel like these kind of arguments are more than just, theory, because in practice, in litigation, if you have an evolutionary biologist go there in front of the jury and say, look, he's going to do this because of evolution, that could actually, you don't know what goes on in that jury room, but it's been shown that could be very, very, very swaying.
I think the thing is that that kind of scenario is already happening, but it's just an implicit understanding. And it's when I was talking about the ways in which the laws across the nations treat crimes of passion differently from premeditated crimes, that really primarily applies to those kind of evolutionarily influenced crimes. Like, the evolution is really a snap judgment type thing. There wasn't really time for careful thought and consideration in the evolutionary environment. There certainly wasn't, conscious family planning or anything like that. And so I think that there's a reason that in courtrooms today, juries are probably more willing to not necessarily let off the hook, but perhaps give a less severe sentence to the guy that walks in on his wife sleeping with some other guy and kills the guy, as opposed to someone who plans and stalks and murders someone in cold blood.
But wouldn't that guy, let's say that guy planned and stalked and murdered someone in cold blood, let's say he murdered the guy who was sleeping with his wife, but was premeditated, so it wasn't a crime of passion. The evolutionary defense seems to work maybe even better there, because it was like he was trying to not go to jail at the same time as making sure he wasn't cuckolded. So, you know what I mean? It's just like, it seems like you're right. Implicitly in these crimes of passion situations, evolution, of course, is happening because people understand, look, at the end of the day, look, there's a big animal side to us. That would be the folk science going on in people's heads. We know better. But, people are saying, there's some crazy stuff going on. But it seems to me evolutionary defense could really come in as a dangerous defense to a whole lot of things. Because at the end of the day, a lot of crimes are, could be justified by a just so story. And if you let juries hear just so stories by an expert witness, it seems like you'd be letting a lot of people walk. Shouldn't be.
But I feel like that's kind of already been addressed with the reasonable person or reasonable defendant standard. But when you bring in someone and say, oh, he robbed the bank because he comes from a certain type of community and a certain type of family, and based on his upbringing, the only way for him to succeed was to rob the bank. And it's been a while since I've taken crim, but I don't think that's acceptable, and we try not to let juries decide based on that.
No, you're right. Yeah, they'll look at the elements of the crime, right? And that's, they have to find on that. It depends what the jury instructions are. But imagine if they heard an expert use some sort of defense. That's all I'm saying.
But then what about just the foundational or baseline level of morality? I understand that juries would be moved by this empirical data and having something substantial and tangible there to tell them that this could actually have been the case, and that it would be, plausible and persuasive to believe that. But I think that juries, since they are made up of a group of common individuals, would even be further swayed by some kind of emotional or moral component. That I understand the crimes of passion argument, but there has to be some kind of level of morality. We've evolved to that point. And so I think that appeal to emotion would probably be stronger in a defense rather than some scientists saying that, it's because of our evolutionary, standpoint that we've, been able to just justify the killing of someone else. That's just what I think, a regular average person would probably be more swayed by. It's the latter.
Yeah, the persuasiveness of evolutionary biology expert would be really intriguing to sort of analyze anyway, because you got to imagine that you get a jury of 12 and there's going to be, at least one person on that jury who does not want to listen to anything in evolutionary
Oh,
biology.
that was
That's
it. True.
So I mean, they're probably assume a much different sort of status than, say, your typical laboratory expert, or even sort of a social sciences expert who's softer kind of data, possibly.
Right.
So that would raise another interesting question.
That's true. That's really
Yeah, if we allow in the evolution made me do it argument, should we allow in the God made me do it because he built me this way? Like, he put me down
Man
and
has fallen.
created me as follows, and therefore he created me to do these things.
Now we're getting to a whole other thing.
Whole other.
Yeah. There's a big thing in the neuro law field with determinism, thinking that all of our actions are basically from physical systems and follow from physical systems. Therefore, we're as responsible for the murder we committed as that rock was for the fact that the rock, before it hit it and sent it rolling down a cliff, we're just another chain in a long domino. So a lot of people are saying that robs all sort of moral culpability from anything we do, as far as moral guilt or anything, and that all punishment should just work at a deterrence level or a utilitarian prospective level. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people do believe, whether it's because they believe in evolutionary biology or they believe in God controlling everything they do believe that there is no free will. And that's actually a thing that we're going to be addressing next semester. A lot of neuroscience says that free will is really just a experiential phenomenon that the brain produces, that you're the culmination of a bunch of physical systems. And what does that say? What does that do to the law? That really screws it up. Oh, I guess we're done. Okay, thanks, Tom.